Distinguished colleagues, researchers, practitioners, and friends of early childhood education, welcome. It is a privilege to open this webinar today, convened under the auspices of UNESCO and the Francophone Commission of the World Organization for Early Childhood Education. And I am grateful to each of you for joining us from across the globe. The fact that so many of us have gathered across time zones, languages, and national contexts speaks to something we all share, a profound conviction that what happens in the earliest years of a child's life matters, and that the people who shape those years matter enormously. We are here today to speak about professionalization, about training, about the educators who walk into rooms full of very young children every morning, carrying with them not only their qualification and their lesson plans, but their relationships, their judgment, their warmth, and their understanding of what each child in front of them needs. We are here, in other words, to speak about the people who are, without question, the most important variable in the quality of any early childhood system anywhere in the world. The research is unambiguous on this point. We know from decades evidence accumulated across vastly different national contexts that the quality of early childhood education and care is not primarily determined by the architecture of buildings, the sophistication of curricula, or the generosity of public funding, as important as each of these undoubtedly is. It is determined above all by the quality of the educator, by what they know, but how they think, by the relationships they build, and by the professional identity they bring to their work each day. An educator who is well prepared, well supported, and genuinely valued does not simply deliver care and education. They construct the conditions within which a child's earliest experiences of trust, curiosity, belonging, and learning take shape. And those early experiences are not incidental, they are foundational. The neuroscience, the developmental science, the longitudinal research, all of it converges on the same conclusions. The experiences a child has between birth and the age of 6 leave traces that reach across a lifetime. They shape the architecture of the developing brain. They establish the emotional templates through which a child will later navigate relationships, learning, and adversity. They are quite literally the beginning of everything. This means that educator who holds a crying infant, who kneels down, listens to a 3-year-old's question, who designs a space that invites exploration and wonder, who takes the time to speak with a family about their child, that educator is not doing simple work. That educator is doing some of the most consequential work that exists. And yet, across our world, early childhood educators remain among the least recognized, least remunerated, and least professionally supported members of educational workforce. The gap between what we know about the importance of this work and how we as societies treat the people who do it remains one of the most troubling contradictions in education policy globally. Professionalization is not merely a technical aspiration. It is a matter of justice. Justice for the educators themselves and justice for the children whose futures depend on them. This is why today's webinar matters, because professionalization is not a single act. It is a sustained commitment. It is initial training that takes early childhood seriously as a field of knowledge, drawing on pedagogy, developmental science, ethics, and reflective practice. It is continuous professional development that offers genuine opportunities for growth rather than bureaucratic compliance. It is a working conditions that respect the complexity and emotional demands of this work. It is career pathways that provide expertise. And it is a recognition at the highest levels of policy that investing in the preparation and support of early childhood educators is not an expenditure. It is an investment with returns that compound across generations. Today, we will hear from voices that are working at the core of this challenge: researchers, policymakers, practitioners, and advocates who are asking the hard questions and building the evidence base that our field needs. I invite you to listen, to question, to share, and above all, to carry what you hear today back into your contexts, your institutions, your classrooms, your policy spaces, and to let it strengthen your commitment to the educators and the children they serve. Because ultimately, what we are talking about today is not simply about training systems or qualification frameworks, as important as these are. We are talking about the value we place on the beginning of human life. We are talking about what kind of world we want to build and who we trust to lay its foundation. Thank you for being there. Let's begin.